Look, it's the eternal project that refuses to leave. Actually, Andy had some scheduling issues, so he'll be here next week, and we'll finish this thing up and get it out of here. But this is relevant to today's video. And that's because we did a live cam break-in on this a couple of weeks ago, and all of those videos are still up if you want to watch them. We did a live cam break-in on this. And then afterwards, we did a video on checking the camshaft before you even put it in. What to look for, how to measure it, and all of that. All in the name of giving yourself the best chance of having a successful camshaft break-in. So we covered the mechanical aspects of the cam, but here's something that's like crucial. If you want to make sure that your cam is going to live, that you're giving it the best possible chance to live, you have to make sure that that engine starts, boom, a couple of rotations of the crank is all you're going to get out of it, and then boom, she starts right off. It's crucial to the break-in process. You can't keep cranking it and cranking it and cranking it, or have the engine stall and restart it and stall and restart it. And you can't go through any of that stuff popping up through the carburetors. It has to be clean. If it's not clean, you're asking for trouble. All of those steps are up on those videos, but I feel let me do a concise version of it so that you can follow along. And of course, we're doing this using Mopar stuff as for demonstration purposes, but I'm going to show you here applies to all engines across the board. So just follow along. Getting off to a successful first start starts before you even put the motor together. Here, come over here. So you've put your cam in and you've degreed it or whatever you're going to do with it, but basically you've got it in dot to dot. Okay, so here's the dot on the crank gear, or the cam gear rather, and here's the dot on the crank gear. And this is what it should look like after you've installed the cam. Now, here's what you need to know about this. And you old timers know this, but a lot of guys, they're learning. When you've got this set up in here, dot to dot, what that signifies is that you're at top dead center of the exhaust stroke. Now this is important. Cam timing, and this includes the cam timing, is all measured at the top of the exhaust stroke, or the overlap period. And we'll do a whole separate video on that. But essentially, what this means is that the distributor, if you were to drop the distributor in here right now and try to time the motor, it would be 180 degrees out. So before you even button up the front, you want to rotate the motor 360 degrees and get it so that your dot to dot is up, right? The top gear, you want the dot at the very top. Make sure everything is in a dead straight line. You want to make sure you're at top dead center. True top dead center. There's a lot of different ways you can do this, depending on the configuration of what you're working with. There are piston stops. There's all different ways. But the easiest way to do it is to just rotate the motor around so you get your number one piston at top dead center. Go a little bit past, it'll start to come back down. When it starts to come back down, stop. Go back the other way. Where it starts to come back down again, stop. And then find that middle ground. That's called the dwell. And you want to have the piston as close to the center of dwell as possible. And it's about, usually on average, 2 or 3 degrees of crankshaft rotation. So you want to make sure you're at top dead center of the compression stroke. Compression stroke is when the dot on the cam gear is facing the top. Right, so dot, dot. Okay. Now you can put your timing cover on. So most timing covers have the pointer built into it, or the timing tab built into it. And this mark right here with the hole on this particular one is our 0. So you want to put this on the engine now, and you want to ascertain that the damper is lined up at 0, at top dead center. So here's a damper, and here's your 0 mark right here. Ignore this. This has nothing to do with what we're talking about now. Here's your 0 mark. So you want to make sure your 0 mark, when you put it together, is just like so. Okay? Now here's the important step concerning the first start. What you want to do now is rotate the motor backwards enough so that your 0 mark is between 10 and 15 degrees before top dead center. So here's 0, here's before, and you want to have your zero right about here, between 10 and 15 degrees before top dead center. And the reason for that is because on your first start, the engine is likely not going to start if it's at zero. The engine is much more likely to start if it's advanced. You want to get yourself off to the right foot with the engine rotated in an advanced position. And here's another important thing too. When you're rotating the motor, so you're going to turn it backwards to go to 10 degrees before top dead center, 15 degrees before top dead center. After you're done rotating it back, you want to take all the slack out of it coming forward. So you want to go back and then rotate the motor, not even rotate it, just pull it back forward again to take all of the slack out. What you're doing at that point is you're removing whatever slack there is in the timing chain. So now you can be sure that the number one piston is set up approximately 15 degrees, 10 to 15 degrees before top dead center. Now we drop our distributor in. So I have found over these, now at this point, wherever you drop the distributor in, wherever the rotor is facing, you can call that number one. But that's not the best way to do it. The best way to do it is to follow the factory wiring diagram. So the firing order obviously is going to be 1843657 The distributor on this engine, the rotation is counterclockwise. Small block Mopars and these Chevys, it's clockwise. It doesn't really make any difference. But what you want to do is you want to run your wires so that they follow the original factory floor pan. It just works easier that way. So in this case, number one is going to be right here, and here's 8436572. Okay. Where that rotor is facing right now, you want to have that rotor facing at your number one, and now you want to set up the distributor. So come over here, I'll show you. You have a few different options as far as the distributor goes. The easiest one to set up is points. So here's, I pretend this isn't a dual point distributor. It's irrelevant to this. So, distributors in the car. The rotor is facing to your number one post on the cap. Now what you want to do is take the rotor and turn it hard against the rotation of the engine. So if the engine is rotating clockwise, you want to take the rotor and you want to load it, you want to push it counterclockwise as far as it'll go. All right? You don't have to gorilla it, but just force it against the direction of rotation. And now you want to rotate the distributor body until you see the points just start to open. When you see the points just start to open, that's where it would be firing the plug. So you want to hold the distributor hard against the direction of rotation and rotate the distributor gently and easily until you see the points just start to open. At that point, it's going to fire the coil. And in all likelihood, if you set this up correctly, the engine's going to rotate 2 or 3 times and she's going to light right off. Points are the easiest one to do. When you're dealing with an electronic ignition like this one here, you've got the pickup and the reluctor, right? You want to make sure that they're exactly lined up at that 15 degree before top dead center mark. So you rotate it slightly until they're lined up, and that's when it breaks that magnetic field is when it's going to fire the plug. Generally speaking, if you're doing it with one of these distributors, if instead of going for 10 to 15 degrees, you're probably better off shooting for 20 degrees before top dead center. When you put a timing light on it, after you start the engine, it'll always come up retarded from where you think you set it. So if you think you set it, you've got this set here at 15 degrees before top dead center. If you put the timing light on it, afterwards it'll be between 5 and 10 degrees. It's just the way it works. If you're dealing with a Hall's effect distributor, or here, this is a Protronics. Now it becomes a little more complicated because the contacts or the magnetic contacts aren't visible here, so you really can't tell what's what. So in this case, with this type of distributor, or as a Hall's effect distributor, or one that you can't visually ascertain when the spark is going to fire, you actually have to set it up so that the spark is going to fire. So you're going to have your entire ignition system laid out, and you're going to have a wire in your coil. And what you're going to do then is you're going to do the same thing as with the points distributor. You're going to turn the rotor hard, opposite direction of the rotation, and you're going to rotate the body of the distributor just like this until it sparks. When you get the spark, that's it, lock it down. And like I said, you don't have to be exactly dead nuts accurate on this. The important thing is that you're going to fire the plug before top dead center. If it's firing after top dead center, the motor will never run. If you ever watch on those shows, TV shows always, whenever they do a first start, they go, wah, 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 boof, boof, and it's backfiring up to the carburetor. It's because they didn't put enough initial advance in when they set everything up. They may have thought that they had it at 0, but as I said, wherever you set it up manually like this, when you put the timing light on it, it's going to be like 5 degrees retarded, 10 degrees retarded. In this case, we were at least 10 degrees retarded. I set this engine up to fire at 10 degrees before top dead center, statically, but I actually had to advance the distributor a good 10 degrees before the motor actually smoothed out and ran. I haven't put a timing light on it yet, but that'll be the next step. And that's it. If you follow those steps, and I hope I made them clear enough. I know sometimes I jump around from thing to thing. I think I got them clear enough. If you follow those steps, then ignition-wise, you'll get the spark where you need it for that instant first start. And then, of course, a fresh engine, when you put an engine together again for the first time, or a brand new engine, you put it together for the first time, they're thirsty beasts. So don't be afraid to give it a good, healthy squirt of gasoline for that first start. Obviously, you want to prime the carburetors. You want to fill the carburetors with gasoline, run an electric pump if you have to, or in this case, this car's got a mechanical pump, so we filled these carburetors through these vent tubes over here with a squirt bottle. So you want to fill both carburetors knowing that they're there, and then give the thing a good healthy squirt of gas, because like I said, it's a French engine, is a thirsty engine. And that should, if you follow all of those steps, that should get you that instant first start that you need to ensure that you get a proper cam brake in. So that's it. I hope you got something out of that. We'll have this thing together and running, fingers crossed, if Andy's schedule doesn't change again, next week. So that's it, guys. I hope you got something out of that. I'll see you tomorrow.